Computer.
Good morning.
Good morning and welcome.
It is Sunday, October 16th. And our talk today is, what is the title of our talk? Playing with money. I remember.
Yes.
Playing with money.
Right.
So our opening reading and prayer this morning, affirmative prayer, is by Ernest Holmes. And it's a long one and it's a good one. So really take this in. I am rich with the richness of God. The divine will never fail me so long as I have implicit faith in it. If I feel myself getting caught in fear and doubt, I take time to reaffirm my union with the great outflowing givingness of life. I take time for prayer and meditation. In this way, I am always receptive to the gift of abundance that God has already made. Today, I accept the gift of God's abundance. Everything that I am and that I have is increased by it. I identify everything I do with success. I think affirmatively, and in all my prayers, I accept abundance. Whatever I need, whenever I need it, wherever I need it, for as long as I need it, will always be at hand. I no longer see negation or delay or stagnation in my endeavors. The act of the living Spirit makes everything I do prosper, increases every good I possess, and brings success to me and everyone I meet. Everything I think about and do is animated by the divine presence, sustained by the infinite power, and multiplied by the divine givingness. The world is mine and the fullness thereof. That's the Bible quote. Today I expect the more abundant life. I keep my thought open to new experiences and opportunities for greater expression. As I share and give of myself to life, the one life pours its bounty upon me. As life finds a fuller outlet through me, I discover a betterment in everything I do, a higher realization of the richness that is God.
Powerful.
And so it is.
I love to hear you read.
I'm so glad.
Yeah.
I'm so
Just such
glad.
a nice voice, you know.
So, with this idea of playing with money, I'm going to start with a quote. Let me see here. Number one. I couldn't read. So, this quote is from Catherine Ponder. Catherine Ponder was a wonderful prosperity teacher and minister, unity minister, I believe, in the Palm Desert area. And she wrote many books on prosperity. And she said basically there's only one disease, congestion, and there's only one cure, circulation. And what she means
Ready?
by that is that often when we think we don't have enough, as it applies to money, let's say, because she also means this for health, but as it applies to money, when we fear, oh, I don't have enough, I've got to save, hoard, keep, be fearful of not enough, that just congests the flow because money is God in action. That is a statement by Raymond Charles Barker that really turned my thinking around about money. Because, you know, we're raised with the idea that the love of money is the root of all evil, and it's so difficult for a rich man to get to heaven. At least I was raised with those ideas. Those
Yeah.
are Christians' New Testament ideas that are misinterpreted. But nevertheless, we'll talk about more of that next week. To think that money, because anytime you say the word God, you can say the word good. So money is good in action. And we know bad things can happen around money. People can steal it, people can rob, people can do horrible things for money. But the money itself does good. It's a means of exchange. And we're going to be talking a lot about how you can use it for good. And the last thing you want to do is hold it.
In 1978, I drove from Rochester, where I live, to Canada, to Toronto, to attend a seminar. And the seminar was what it called the communication workshop, and it was one of the EST training programs.
Stop it.
Some of you remember back now we have the forum. It was called EST, And I went to that. It was a really big deal at the time, and there were 150 of us all sitting, in chairs close together, watching carefully to see how we could communicate. And the instructor asked us a question, or asked us to do something. He said, "I'd like you to get out your checkbooks," which made us all very nervous.
I went to one of
You know,
those.
we already paid for the seminar, and now he's saying, "Get out your checkbooks." So we got out our checkbooks reluctantly because we were going to be obedient for this conference at least. And he said, "I'd like you to look at your checkbook because that will tell you what you're committed to." And I thought, whoa. And then we started talking about commitment. What are you committed to? And when I looked at it from this perspective of my finances, I realized I had committed to a lot of things that after I had committed to them, I didn't feel so good about the commitment. But I still had it. And one of the things that occurred to me, I love having a new car, and I love the smell of it. I love having the power and the joy and we can't afford going for joyrides anymore because the gas is too expensive. But back then, you could do a weekend Sunday drive, and I loved that. But what I didn't love was I committed to the car. I committed dollars to the car. I committed money and time and energy to the car, and then it got old. But before it got old, I still was still committed to it. But also, what was important was I noticed that I was committed to that, and something else that might have gotten my commitment didn't because my money was committed to something that maybe I didn't need, but now was in my life. And my question to each of us is, if you get your checkbook out, how many things are you committed to? If you took a close look at it, you would say, "Wow, I didn't realize I made a commitment. I did at the time, but 5 years later, 2 years later, 6 months later, am I still committed to that? And if I am not committed to that, can I change that commitment? And can I commit to things that I value or that grow me or that help me or that make my life better for me?"
I'm going to recommend an exercise for you for that.
Sure.
Again, take out your checkbook. And
We're-
nowadays you have to say in your charge
Right.
cards.
And we're not going to ask you to take out your checkbook this early.
No, but just for you to see where your money is going,
Yeah.
because we all spend our money. And so get a piece of paper and divide it with a line right down the middle and have a column A and a column B. Column A, as you look through what you've spent all month long, and this is a little different than what Bob said because, you may have that $400 car payment and after 5 years you're tired of paying that $400. But that's not what I'm talking about. You do need transportation. What I'm talking about is to look for a month and see what did you spend that may have been frivolous or unnecessary. What were you spending if you were on Starbucks and things like that? What were you spending on perhaps even entertainment that wasn't that enjoyable or whatever. But clothes, whatever you spent that really wasn't necessary, and supplements maybe.
Or headphones. There's a new pair that I'd like to get. They're only $900, and that's a $200 savings, and you could take the $200 and buy whatever you want with it, the savings.
When we first got married, he spent more money than I could believe on musical CDs, and I spent money on books. He couldn't believe I spent so much on books. Yeah. So, but whatever, it may be necessary or
I
not
was
so
right,
necessary.
by the way.
And now it's not that. Now it's headphones and supplements.
Because we need to get healthy, and I can't hear.
At any rate,
Yeah.
look at what you're spending that may not be necessary, and then on the right side, write down and take a look at what you might want to do if you had the money. What kind of classes? What kind of new hobby you might want to invest in?
What kind of cruise you want to take?
Cruise you want to go on, and then take a look at those things on the left side and say, could I refrain from circulating my money there and make it circulate over here? And you might even be doing it for something that does good for the planet, good for others. Deepak Chopra says that when you do something with love, where is Deepak here? He says, when you seek money or power for the sake of the ego, you spend energy chasing the illusion of happiness. When you seek money for personal gain only, you cut off the flow of energy to yourself. But when your actions are motivated by love, there is no waste of energy. When your actions are motivated by love, your energy multiplies and accumulates, and the surplus energy you gather and enjoy can be channeled to create anything you want. So that's what differentiates that love of money being the root of all evil from doing good with the money. If you do it with love, it can be love for yourself as well as love for others, the planet, and you know, I say public radio and public TV that you may want to support. All of that
I
that
recommend
does
those
good
things,
in the
yeah.
world
Yeah.
are wonderful things
Right.
that everybody benefits by.
I'm reminded of years and years ago when I was much younger and a whole lot less adult than I am now. I resented having to pay my bills. And I resented it because, in fact, I would sometimes have bills that were in excess of what I made, but that didn't stop me from buying things I couldn't afford. But I found that resentment sometimes would end up with me paying a bill late, even if I had the money in the account. And I thought, I've got to change this. This is not positive behavior. I have the money, but I don't want to give it to them, even though I've said I
'Cause I
would.
wanna hold on
I want
to
to
it,
hold
right?
on to it. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's
So
mine.
yeah. So for
Mine.
one month, I started a new exercise, and I paid all of my bills in person. And this is before the internet, and when I could go to the bank, so I would go to the bank and I'd say, "Here to pay my bill."
Sorry.
I'm here to pay my bill. And they would say, "Well, you could pay it by mail." I said, "I know, but I'd like to pay it in person." And so I started doing that. Well, what ended up happening is I developed relationships with all of the people that I owed money to. And they would actually say, "Oh, hi, Bob, how are you today?" And I would have an exchange. And I realized we often don't have a relationship with the people that we have a contract with. And one of the ways that we can feel better about the contracts that we have, about the commitments we've made, is to say thank you. And so even when I had to pay the bill by mail, I would say thank you for giving me the power that I need to power my house so that I can watch my TV and annoy my neighbors with my really expensive stereo. And but what I found was that when I began doing that, the end of the month wasn't a time to pay bills. It was a time to appreciate the relationships that I'd developed.
Yeah.
And so we're developing a different relationship with our money. And I would say, even on the internet, when you pay a bill, if there's any way that you can drop a note and say, "Thanks, by the way, for trusting me with this money, and it's being well used, and I'm having a good time with it." And it's amazing when you change the relationship you have with the people, you change the relationship you have with money as well.
So, how you spend money, how you circulate your money, let's not call it spend because that can have a negative connotation, but how you circulate your money says a lot about your consciousness. This is a quote
I don't
by
like that part.
Evan Hodkins, from the School of Alchemy. He says, "Money is where the unconscious is stored. Our unconscious thoughts, feelings, beliefs, ideas, and memories are stored in money. So if we do an analysis on money, we find out exactly where our values are. This is what we were talking about before. If we follow the course of money in our life, we'll uncover all the places that are wounded, unhealed, sloppy, weird, distorted, and hurt. Money touches every aspect of our life. Money is symbolic of our values and our consciousness. So if you made money a spiritual discipline, if you became conscious of your money and had a deep commitment to healing the parts of your life that need healing, using money as the device to bring consciousness, you could probably achieve enlightenment just by paying attention to what your money is all about. Enlightenment is just a checkbook away." And I could see that, if you
Yeah.
were spending money on things like alcohol or drugs, that would tell you a lot about your consciousness. If you were wasting it, that would tell you a lot. If you were sharing it with worthy organizations and centers for spiritual awareness and consciousness, you can tell where your money's going,
I would suggest
what's important to you.
that you imagine that money is serving dinner, and the question is, what will you serve, and who will you invite? And who are the people that you would invite to your table, that you would write checks to, and that would be the dinner that you're going to serve. And I think sometimes what we do is, when I have done, like with PBS, I've said, "I'm setting a place for you at my table. There's no question you're important to me." and here's my $5. And PBS says, we're not anorexic, we'd like a regular meal. And so sometimes I think when I look at who's at my table, and if they were sitting at the table looking at their plate and I was to give them the food that I give them, which is money, I would have to be a little embarrassed on occasion that I give so little to things that have so much value and so much to things that diminish in value over time. And so I think that's another way of looking at it.
Yeah, exactly. But what do you think about what he says there about it? It shows all of your unhealed, wounded
Oh, clearly.
hurts.
I think we probably would have a lot less alcoholism if we didn't have people buying alcohol in order to be able to subdue what is upsetting them that they don't want to or can't deal with or are putting off dealing with.
Or today, it's dangerous drugs, dangerous
Yeah.
only because the fentanyl is so often mixed with it, and that's a killer.
Yeah, yeah.
But all manner of things. We were at our pool yesterday with a man about our age who was telling us how he entertains himself, and he had some really interesting ways of blowing his money,
Which we can't talk about.
which we can't talk about.
Yeah. Although he did go to the Cheetah Club, which is, and I found out the Cheetah Club in Fort Lauderdale does not have any cheetahs. And the women,
He was not a nature
and the
lover.
women that are there cannot afford clothes. So I said, "Why are you going to a place that has no cheetahs, and women have no clothes?" And he just smiled because he thought that I would understand, and then we changed the topic.
Oh, yes, but yeah, when we look at money as an addiction, spending money as an addiction, and often is, it can go in places where you could see the wounding. It can go to gambling, it can go to excessive spending. There are shopaholics.
Ice cream.
Ice cream, pizza.
Yeah. We don't have any money. Let's just charge a pizza. How sad are you today? A large pizza.
Yeah, now all of that is true, accurate and true. So another point I'd like to make, and this statement is by Lao Tzu. This is the ancient Chinese philosopher. It's so old. The wisdom is so old.
And
we
he
really
didn't
don't even
drive
know
he didn't drive a new car.
who he was, but his wisdom is going on and on. And he says, when you realize there is nothing lacking, the whole world belongs to you.
Whoa.
And that's so true. And you can have it. You could have it either way. Many of you know my son just passed, made his transition, and we have other people that are in the process. Probably all of us are in the process.
No,
actually,
I got an extended warranty. I'm good.
But and so when that happens, you can look at: have you lost everything, or is the whole world yours? It's how you look at it. When you're looking at leaving this world behind, it all belongs to you. It all belongs to you right here, right now. You don't need anything. You're going to a place where you have everything. I don't believe it's really a place. I think it's a state of consciousness, a vibration that's right here.
Yeah.
And so you really don't even leave. You just ascend in consciousness.
You say that, but I'm still taking my American Express.
And the whole world belongs to you. We heard about a new, was it a movie or a book?
I think it was a movie, but yeah, I think it was a movie, but I'm
Yeah,
not sure.
I think it's a movie.
It was on PBS.
And the author was just playing with this idea that what we value so much in our society here is people with a lot of money. They get a lot of power, and they're treated like important people. So he had a group of people on a yacht, and these were financiers and hedge fund operators, just the top as far as
People at the top of the financial pyramid.
the 1%.
Yeah.
And they were being served by Filipinos, servants, on the yacht, and they were on the lower rung of
The bottom of the pyramid.
the bottom of the pyramid. And so then the yacht had trouble and had to actually sink. But they were close enough to an island, they could get to this island. Now, the island had nothing on it, absolutely nothing, but nature. And for the Filipinos, it had everything they needed. They knew how to fish. They knew how to hunt. Then they changed position of importance to this group of people from the bottom to the top, because suddenly they were the ones who knew how to help everybody survive.
Right. They had the power.
They had the power. And so it's interesting, from that standpoint, you really can say that the whole earth is mine, I'm here, and it all belongs to me because it is all made by God for me and everyone else.
I was at a nature preserve recently, and the man standing next to me, listening to the same bird that I was listening to, enjoying the same sound that I was listening to, was wearing a Rolex watch and had a Nikon camera, which was not that expensive, but the lens on it extended halfway across the block, which meant it was a huge and expensive camera. Noticing the shoes he was wearing, the clothes he was wearing, this is not a man who suffered from financial loss. We heard the same music. We heard the same bird. We smiled at the same time. We had the same conversation about the same most beautiful thing. And what I loved about that experience is that all of the things that we think make us important had no value at all. And what made us important was our ability to embrace something that was beautiful and that was present, that was there for us.
Indeed. So,
I'd still like to have the Rolex, but
yeah, it makes such a difference, right?
I know,
Just in
'cause,
telling
well,
time.
you get a different quality of time. You look at your watch, and it's just not the same time as it is for anyone else. Although I do have an Apple Watch, and for those of you that don't have one, it tells me not only what time it is, it tells me when I need to breathe, when I need to stand, when I need.
It does.
It's constant support system for me. Bob, well, even while I'm talking, I said, Bob, it's been a while since you stood. What do you think? Is it okay if I sit a little longer? We can talk about it later.
You have a bodyguard.
Yeah, really. I never thought, when I was growing up, that I would ever have a watch that would be giving me instructions.
So, well, we're going to be talking about prosperity and the flow of good that actually comes from within you out. And we just have to watch that we don't impede the flow by our thoughts of not enoughness, I'm scared, I want this, I need that, and I don't have the money. Because money is God in action, and it can come from so many sources. You can't even imagine if you just open it up. And don't limit your source to the normal source. For example, the normal source may be a paycheck, maybe a retirement check, don't limit it to that, because it can come from so many different sources.
Oh, yeah.
When you allow for that possibility and start watching for it.
And look for the possibilities for how you can share your prosperity. We have somebody on our service today who I know, when she goes to McDonald's, if somebody says, would you buy me breakfast, that she'll buy them breakfast. It's incredible. And I felt really good about that, although a little scared. So I go to McDonald's when there's not going to be anybody there. Yeah.
Shoot, you made me forget what I was going to say.
Yeah, I thought, what an incredible thing. Or she'll pay it forward. It's incredible to think of the fun you could have with money. That's playing with money. It doesn't cost that much.
I was going to tell about unexpected sources.
Oh.
A couple of years ago, Bob was invited to speak at a ministers' conference.
Oh, yeah.
And it was in Park
City?
Park.
City, Utah?
Yes, Utah. Right up from Salt Lake City. Park something. It's a ski resort and a wonderful, beautiful area. And it was, it's expensive. He gets paid for speaking a little bit, but not enough to cover the cost of the conference, the hotel, the food.
Not enough to cover the airfare.
And the airfare. But we wanted to go, and it's an honor to be asked. And so we went, and
on borrowed money.
Yeah, charge card money.
Yeah.
And we were at the airport coming home, and the attendant asked if anybody would want to miss this flight and go on the next flight, which was an hour or so later, for $300 or $150 each. And we said, yeah, we would, $300. And so we waited for that flight, and we're enjoying ourselves, reading a book or whatever. And Bob, we heard another announcement. Would anybody want to skip this flight and go on the next one for $500 or $250 each? We said we would. And so we got, and they put it right on our American Express, a credit to our American Express right there, $800 we got from out of thin air.
Yeah, really.
from the airline
at the airport.
at the airport
Right.
to reimburse us for our expenses. So money can come from so many unexpected places. You just need to start looking for it and expecting it to come from unexpected sources.
My suggestion would be go to the airport.
Because it's God in action,
Yeah.
and it can come from any number of sources.
Yeah.
So let's wind this up.
I'm going to see if I can be clever here and go to screen share. And we're going to minimize.
That's not minimizing, honey. Minimizing is up there.
Where? I don't see it.
Well, you have to go up to the top. There you go.
Where? That's not minimizing.
Yes, it is. The middle one. The yellow one. It's yellow one.
There's no yellow one. We've done this before.
That's a whiteboard, honey.
I know. Oh, thank you. So it's just Zoom. There's nothing there. Okay. It's not gonna. You're not gonna do it. No. Full screen exit. That's what I want to do. Okay, now I can do it. Now we're gonna go to share screen. That's it. Okay.
Very good. We did it.
Whew.
Who can share? Okay. So, in this idea of circulating your money, another place you can circulate it is to support this healing, teaching ministry and Center for Spiritual Living. And you can do so by going to that address, cslpalmbeaches.org. And it will say ways to donate. One of the buttons says ways to donate. And you have choices for how you may support us. And we know many of you do that regularly and have your way of doing it. And we appreciate you and saying so it is. So let's read. This is an affirmation to help you increase your idea that when you give, it is multiplied. So my investment today is made with the full realization that God is the source of my supply and returns it to me enriched and multiplied. And so it is.
Wonderful. So we're going to stop the recording now. And stop the recording.